Sometimes the New York Times accidentally tells the truth. Because I do that, I come across stuff that, I don't know, generally conservative media doesn't see or wouldn't talk about. And this particular interview I thought was fascinating from the New York Times. They interviewed Jennifer Lawrence, who is a movie star. If you don't know her act, well, you're about to see her, and I would guarantee you're going to go, oh, yeah, I know who that is. But the New York Times interviewed her specifically about her talking about politics. The other day, we talked about George Clooney, obviously famous actor who has delved into politics, wrote a big op-ed that got Joe Biden out of the race, and now is criticizing Kamala Harris. What did he say? The only problem is she had to run on her record. Bottom line, people in the entertainment industry are no strangers to politics, which is what I think made this interview so interesting, this particular part specifically. Watch this clip. I believe this is cut 2 of Jennifer Lawrence on the New York Times podcast being asked on whether or not she's going to continue being involved in politics. And just so you know, spoiler alert, she was very, very vocal about being super anti-Trump in 2016, but has changed her tune. And I think that's a good thing. Watch this.
You have been politically outspoken in the past. In the first Trump administration, you had a lot to say. I'm curious how you feel about talking out now.
I don't really know if I should. I think the first Trump administration was so wild, and just how can we let this stand? I felt like I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. But as we've learned, election after election, celebrities do not make a difference whatsoever on who people vote for. And so then what am I doing?
So, obviously I disagree with her on the Trump administration the first time around being wild, and I don't agree with her politically speaking. But that is a really astute observation made by an artist who doesn't believe in the same political philosophy as I do or as you do. What she said, though, is fascinating to see in the kind of the context of where we are. Jennifer Lawrence doesn't believe, accurately by the way, that celebrities' endorsements of politicians actually make any difference. And what she believes now, especially, after she was very, very vocal in the first Trump administration about how much she hated the guy, is actually backed up by statistics and backed up by polling. Interestingly enough, there was a polling organization that was asking 2 specific questions, and this has been redone and reinforced many, many times, but just this specific poll asked the question of whether or not someone voting for Trump had their vote influenced by celebrities. The people that said it made no difference, 77%. 9% said that they were more likely to vote for President Trump because of a celebrity endorsement. But interestingly enough, a celebrity endorsement made them less likely to vote for a particular candidate 12% of the time. In other words, insignificant whatsoever. Also interesting is when they asked the question about Kamala Harris. 74% of people said, well, that doesn't make any difference. 10% of them said it's more likely. Even more interesting than that, 14% of the people that responded said, well, the celebrity endorsement actually makes me want to vote for the other person, which is crazy. So it is a very good observation made by somebody who I don't agree with politically that, yeah, celebrities don't actually make much of a difference when they are vocal on the nose about their policy ideas. Now, here's where it gets interesting with artists specifically. Good art has to be based in truth, has to be based in reality. If you've seen a movie and you're like, that movie didn't really work, and you can't really identify why it didn't work for you, the chances are that movie wasn't rooted in realistic outlining or realistic depictions of what real life actually looks like. Art that even I disagree with, the outcome of it is still can be good if what they're doing is representing something that exists in real life, which leads me to this next clip from Jennifer Lawrence, which I found even more interesting, especially considering someone who I disagree with, recognizing the power of art and what art actually does if you keep your mouth shut about political issues that you don't actually improve or move in any way, shape, or form being a quote unquote celebrity. Watch this clip, cut 3. This is the same interview.
I think I'm in a complicated recalibration because I'm also an artist, and with this temperature and the way that things can turn out, I don't want to start turning people off to films and to art that could change consciousness or change the world because they don't like my political opinions. I want to protect my craft so that you can still get lost in what I'm doing, what I'm showing. And if I can't say something that's going to speak to some kind of peace or lowering the temperature or some sort of solution, I don't want to be a part of the problem. I don't want to make the problem worse.
In your head, at home, by yourself, maybe whisper it to your spouse, maybe sitting next to you. What was one movie in the last couple of years that had a big impact that you were like, yes, this movie is awesome. We really appreciate it being made, and we loved going to the movie theater to see it. Okay, now ask yourself, why was it Top Gun Maverick? Well, the reason is because Top Gun Maverick did something that the art world has not been doing for so long, and it depicted something that is real, that is American ingenuity. It is a compelling story of bravery and courage and camaraderie and loyalty, all within a Hollywood movie that was made well. What I'm trying to get at here is that art, in its truest sense, represents truth, whether you agree with the policy decisions or the policy outcomes or the political ideology of the artists making the art. Even Jennifer Lawrence, in the most recent movie that I saw her in, accidentally told the truth about something. No Hard Feelings is a movie that she starred in very recently. Actually, 2023, I believe, is when this came out. It was a comedy. It was kind of raunchy, but I did watch it. And the most interesting thing about it is it depicted a real-life problem, promulgated in this case by libs. It was not to give away the entire plot. The plot was she was a 30-year-old bartender, Uber driver whose mother had passed away, and because her mother had passed away, her property taxes got reevaluated, and her property taxes went up. And so she had to scramble and find other jobs and deal with real-life issues that are generally promoted by libs. In other words, even though I don't agree with her politically speaking, she made art in the form of a movie that depicted the real life problems that everyday Americans go through. And even if you don't agree with her politically speaking, you'll watch that movie and go, yeah, property taxes are terrible. Now, is the entire movie premise based around property taxes and whether or not we should get rid of them or lower them or just outlaw them entirely in every specific municipality that enforces them? No. But it depicts a real-life American problem that is only conveyed well enough through an artistic medium. So even though I disagree with her politically, it is interesting, one, that she says, celebrities don't really have any sort of sway to begin with, and two, if she says, I'm going to stick to making art, and if other celebrities and movie stars say, I'm going to stick to making art, believe it or not, they're going to accidentally tell the truth more often than not if they are making good art. I just thought that was really interesting, and I wanted to bring that to you because I can almost guarantee you nobody here is watching the New York Times podcast. I do it, one, to bring you stuff like that, but also, two, to punish myself for my sins.